My turn. This week is sex toys, or maybe it's also kind of like regular toys, but I interpret it as sex toys, so that's what I'm going to talk about. We've had a very interesting week so far. There is a first time for everything, so I am about to give you a trigger warning, and I am going to be very, very specific about what the warning is for. I'm going to be using very specific terms that refer to a person's genitals that they have immediately following birth if they are a person who carries 2 X chromosomes. I will be using these terms to generally refer to these people, including people who identify as male. If you are not comfortable hearing these terms used in a way that might imply that you have previously or currently have these parts on your person, if there's no way around other than to not watch it. One thing about the sex education that children and, young adults get in school, they don't talk about sex toys. I don't know if I think they should, but I know that they don't, and I know that it's something that some people might want to know about. And on top of this, somebody who is not comfortable with their body parts being gendered, or somebody who is not comfortable with their body parts in general, will have a lot of trouble seeking out educational presentations about how to use sex toys or how to have sex, because the presenter will usually be making them feel uncomfortable and gendering everything about them. And it's really hard to learn about how to use sex toys or how different ways that you can pleasure yourself when every resource out there seems like it's not directed towards you. And that will discourage people, even in late adulthood, from learning about sex toys and different ways to have sex, because, I would feel incredibly uncomfortable going to a workshop for women on sexual health. Like, that's not where I belong, clearly. A good number of trans men use the same kind of sex toys that a cis female would use. The parts there work in the same way a lot of the time, and the same sex toys will work in a lot of instances. And it's really hard for a trans person to find a resource for sex education and sex toy use that is not gendering anything. And to find that, and to feel safe listening to something like that, I think it's a really good resource. And I'm going to say I think August Emery's video was a really good resource, presented by trans people, not gendering people's parts, and being very specific in how things work and how they can be used, because I'm 20 years old and I'm just now, just very recently, even beginning to understand how to use, anything that I have in any kind of, diverse way. So if you're someone who is trying to learn how sex toys work with a vagina, don't get that confused, and you're comfortable hearing all of the terms that surround that sexual organ being used in a graphic sense, that is a great video to go to and watch, because they will teach you more than I even know. I do not own sex toys. So like I said, the world of sex toys is just recently opening up to me in any sort of way. I have one that I won at a friend's top surgery fundraiser. I've been so closed off sexually my entire life that there's literally only one way that I know of that can even get me off, and it involves no hands, definitely no mouth, it involves almost complete detachment from that part of my body. But I have very recently started to try a little bit of vaginal penetration, and there have been obstacles due to prolonged testosterone usage, but I've discovered that it is something that I can probably enjoy, and the fact that I'm 20 and trying this and feel like I don't know anything about vaginas or how to make them work, I was definitely not good in bed, trust me on that. I think that's a sad thing, and I think it's important for me and for others who have that kind of body to learn how to use what you have, because, it's very limiting to, be me, not know what you're doing, and not know what you're doing with yourself or what to tell other people to do to you, because you have no clue and you don't know what works, and there's literally one way that you can get off. And I feel like most of my discomfort sexually does not have to do with dysphoria, it just has to do with the simple fact that I don't know what's going on with my own body, because I've never been willing to learn because of the settings offered to me as far as sex education. It's uncomfortable. And I know this video is supposed to be about sex toys, but I don't know anything about sex toys. I recommend learning about sex toys and your options sexually. And just because you use certain parts that are generally considered to be feminine or female, that doesn't make you feminine or female. It just means that you're using what you have to get pleasure out of it. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't knock masturbation, it is sex with someone you love. Literally, my doctor told me that. See you next Thursday. Saturday. Wow, it's been a long time since I've been Thursday. That's weird. Okay, goodbye.